Hello and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. The Welsh Assembly has voted to introduce presumed consent for organ donation. The controversial legislation means patients in Wales will be the first in the UK to have their organs harvested when they die, unless they opt out. Mark Drakeford, the Welsh Health Minister, said the opt-out system will increase the number of organs available for transplant. But the Archbishop of Wales, Barry Morgan, says he's concerned that the public don't realise what the government is doing. He said organ donation should be about gifting, not taking.
Let me say very firmly, though, I'm in favour of organ donation. What I'm not in favour of is this bill, which presumes that unless you have opted out, then your organs can be used for transplantation. They call it deemed consent. It's no kind of consent at all, it seems to me. It's rather the taking of organs rather than the gifting of organs.
Legalising assisted suicide would put huge pressure on vulnerable people to end their lives, according to a consultant in palliative medicine. Dr Stephen Hutchison says the Scottish Parliament has a duty to protect its citizens. His comments come as independent MSP Margot MacDonald prepares to introduce a new assisted suicide bill following the defeat of a similar bill in 2010. Dr Hutchison asks, when you are facing an incurable illness or the prospect of suffering or the cost of care are eating into your family's inheritance and you feel vulnerable and scared, just how little pressure would be needed to make you choose assisted suicide, particularly if you are elderly and frail or feel that you are a burden. He added, when there is suffering, we need to research and refine care to relieve it, not hasten death. This week has also seen the French leader, President Hollande, ignore his National Ethics Committee advice and announce that his government plans to introduce a bill before the end of the year to legalise voluntary euthanasia in France. Channel 4 is to broadcast a Muslim call to prayer each morning during Ramadan, claiming it could be more relevant than the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Ralph Lee, the broadcaster's head of factual programming, said, nearly 5% of the country will actively engage in Ramadan. Can we say the same of other national events that have received blanket coverage on television, such as the Queen's coronation anniversary? Mr Lee also commented that the prayers would be a deliberate provocation to all our viewers. The move has been welcomed by radical Islamist groups who see it as an opportunity to promote Islam and to push Sharia law in the UK. And Terry Sanderson of the National Secular Society also backed the broadcasts. But Conservative MP Conor Burns said, I find it extraordinary Channel 4 would pursue this politically correct tokenism. UKIP was also critical of the broadcasts, with a spokesman saying, I cannot believe that the majority of mainstream Muslims want to see this, adding, it will inflame community tension. The government is to launch a consultation of LGBT people in the autumn, asking them for the next policy idea after redefining marriage. Equalities Minister Maria Miller has asked the readers of the gay news website Pink News to tell me what they think are the biggest issues still facing LGBT people in this country and where government needs to prioritise action. Pink News then published an article by Adrian Tippett which said, we could easily make a shopping list of improvements, but first of all, an attitude change is needed. The first step is to acknowledge that human rights come before beliefs, adding, if you did that, no consultation would be needed. A Court of Appeal ruling in Northern Ireland has paved the way for homosexual and unmarried couples to adopt children in the province. The taxpayer-funded Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission took the matter to court, claiming the current law was discriminatory. Department of Health Minister Edwin Poots had defended the current position, which only allows married couples to jointly adopt. And Attorney General John Larkin QC backed the department, saying the current adoption criteria is lawful, appropriate, has public support and is in the best interests of children. But in his ruling, Lord Justice Girvan said, the department has put forward no justification to exclude same-sex couples as parties eligible to adopt as a couple. Meanwhile, in the Irish Republic, steps towards introducing abortion in the country have been passed by politicians. The proposed legislation would allow limited terminations where 3 medics agree there is a risk to the life of the mother, including if there is a threat of suicide because of her continuing pregnancy. The Irish Parliament voted to move forward with the controversial bill by 138 to 24. 4 members of Fine Gael, the main government party who defied the party whip by voting against the bill, have all been expelled from the party. Senior Roman Catholic leaders are concerned the bill will act as a gateway for abortion in Ireland. Cardinal Sean Brady warned, "The right to life of the unborn child will no longer be treated as equal. The wording of this bill is so vague that ever wider access to abortion can be easily facilitated." And finally, the Lindisfarne Gospels have gone on display in a rare exhibition at the Palace Green Library in Durham. The Gospels form one of the most precious books in the world, dating back to the 8th century, and contain exquisite examples of medieval art. They were created by monks at Lindisfarne Priory on Northumberland's Holy Island in AD 700 in honour of St Cuthbert, and contain the oldest surviving translation of John's Gospel into English. Often referred to as St Cuthbert's Gospel, the leather-bound book is in almost perfect condition. But who was St Cuthbert?
He is the north of England's great saint. He was born in the north, he lived in the north all his life. He was remembered in the north with huge affection and loyalty. And after his death, his body was carried round the north of England until it ended up here in Durham. So if ever there were a saint for the north, it would be Cuthbert.
The manuscripts are on display until the end of September, along with other St Cuthbert treasures and artefacts. Well, that's all for this week. For more information and regular updates on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.